You need to adopt AI quickly, but you're not confident you can achieve measurable ROI. At the same time, you can't afford AI failures that put customers, regulators, or your reputation at risk. And without clear, consistent best practices, responsible AI becomes hard to implement at scale. ValidMind AI Governance provides scalable, automated oversight for responsible AI. It centralizes governance across AI models, GenAI systems, and traditional models. So policies, approvals, reporting, and monitoring are built in, not bolted on. With ValidMind, teams can accelerate AI adoption with confidence, strengthen governance while reducing reputational risk, and apply built-in best practices to meet proven compliance expectations. Here's how ValidMind AI Governance works. In this demo, you'll learn how ValidMind empowers your organization to embed AI governance directly into the day-to-day workflows, documentation, monitoring, and oversight processes that ensure AI systems remain compliant, controlled, and trustworthy. Let's start with how ValidMind translates policy into practice through workflow-driven governance. Here's an example of a risk classification workflow. In ValidMind, risk classification is not treated as a one-time checkbox exercise or a static form. Instead, it's implemented as a structured workflow that can be repeated consistently across every AI system. As you can see, users are guided through a structured intake process. This intake form is fully customizable, allowing organizations to align it directly with their internal AI governance policies and regulatory requirements. ValidMind also supports calculated field logic, meaning that as answers are provided, the system automatically determines the appropriate risk tier classification in real time. What makes this especially powerful is that the process is repeatable, auditable, and accountable. Every workflow execution is logged, responsibilities and approvals are clearly assigned, stakeholders are involved at the right stages, and the final outcome is fully traceable. And once approved, the risk classification doesn't just live in documentation, it actively governs what happens next. Here, you can see the computation behind the risk tiering questions we completed, but more importantly, the classification determines how the system is governed going forward. The approvals it will require, the documentation standards it must meet, and the testing and monitoring expectations it will be subject to are all aligned automatically with the resulting risk tier. This is one clear example of how ValidMind operationalizes governance policy through structured, enforceable workflows. Next, let's look at documentation, which is another core pillar of AI governance. ValidMind supports governance through structured documentation templates that align directly with regulatory expectations and industry standards, including requirements under the EUAI Act and frameworks such as E23, SS 123, and SR 117. Rather than relying on free-form documents, these templates guide teams to capture the right information in a consistent, governed way, while still allowing flexibility to reflect internal processes and policies. As we click into these subsections, you can see that the template doesn't just define the structure of documentation, it also pre-configures the validation and testing expectations for a given use case. If we expand further, each section includes built-in guidelines that specify what information is required and how it should be addressed. Switching into the template settings and looking at this agentic AI template, you can see more clearly how the documentation outline is constructed and how specific tests are prescribed and tied directly to these governance requirements. These guidelines help ensure that documentation remains aligned with both internal standards and evolving regulatory expectations. Now, governance doesn't stop at approval. It must continue throughout the lifecycle of an AI system. ValidMind enables ongoing monitoring by allowing teams to track key metrics over time, including the ability to define thresholds for AI risk indicators such as drift. These thresholds can be directly tied to governance processes, including escalation paths, ensuring that emerging risks are identified early and remediated quickly. When thresholds are breached, ValidMind can trigger workflows, notifications, and alerts, providing continuous oversight with full auditability. Finally, all of these governance capabilities come together in the model inventory. The inventory provides a global, enterprise-wide view of model risk, including AI-specific risk across the organization. Because it is built on customizable attributes, teams can aggregate, filter, and report models by risk classification, lifecycle stage, governance status, or compliance posture. This allows organizations to manage AI risk holistically rather than taking a model-by-model approach, creating a fully governed portfolio. This demonstrates how ValidMind enables scalable AI governance in practice, embedding policy into workflows, documentation, monitoring, and inventory oversight, so organizations can adopt AI with confidence, accountability, and regulatory readiness.